Hi everyone. The lesson for today is spectacular. I walk with God in perfect holiness, and we'll look at that in just a moment. But I want to look first at yesterday's lesson, which is I will step back and let Him lead the way, which is just such a perfect example of what happens to you when you wake up. Because when you undergo your spiritual transformation, you kind of step back in the assertion of yourself as you identify yourself and instead let the new idea of you, which is being revealed to you through that stepping back, step forward and reinterpret everything in that new light. That's in essence this lesson. This lesson says there is a way of living in the world that is not here, although it seems to be. Those of you who are in that experience know exactly what I'm talking about. There is a way of living in the world that is, you seem to be here, and yet you know you're not. You are, another way of saying that, you're in the world but not of it. He says, you do not change appearance, though you smile more frequently. Your forehead is serene, your eyes are quiet. And the ones who walk the world as you do recognize their own. Yet those who have not yet perceived the way will recognize you also, and believe that you are like them as you were before, which is beautiful, right? As you're waking up, you transcend, if you will, the idea of you in the world. And those who also are undergoing that process of awakening will recognize you because you share that process of awakening. You share that idea of what you are in truth. However, those who are not yet ready to awaken will recognize you also as their old idea of themselves, the idea that you once had of yourself, and will recognize that think that you are still like them, but you're not. Right? You've changed. You don't fit here anymore. That's so beautifully expressed in here. I love the next paragraph. Listen to this. The world is an illusion. Those who choose to come to it are seeking for a place where they can be illusions and avoid their own reality. Beautiful, right? Self identity. What you've made of yourself is an illusion. And now you don't have to recognize your own identity. You've made a place where you can hide from God, and yet you can't, right? That's the lesson for today, by the way. Yet, and here it is, right? Yet when they find their own reality is even here, then they step back and let it lead their way. When you recognize that you can't hide from God, that God is even with you here in your dream, right? Because there is only God, then you step back. When the idea of God re-emerges and you've had enough pain and enough disappointment in this place, and you can clearly see that you're never going to be happy here, and that you're going to get old, sick, and die, and all the stuff that happens here, then you go like, well, this makes no sense, right? And you're ready to wake up. Beautiful. Well, let me skip a little bit. Um, this is so beautiful. It says, so he goes to, then he starts explaining between those who've completely chosen for the world, right, or those who want to give up the world. He says, between these paths, there is another road that leads away from loss of every kind. Because giving up the world or choosing the world is the same thing. It's the same idea. It's an idea of sacrifice, right? If you choose the world, that's a complete sacrifice because it cannot give you what you're looking for. And giving up the world is the same idea because you think you're giving up something. This says there is another road that leads away from loss of every kind. For sacrifice and deprivation, both are left quickly behind. This is the way appointed for you now. I love that. Huh? You walk this path as others walk, nor do you seem to be distinct from them, although you are indeed. Thus can you serve them while you serve yourself, and set the footsteps on the way that God has opened up to you and them through you. Right? As you've chosen to awaken from this dream, right, you have a function to fulfill. You're going to be for that moment, for your sojourn, the light of the world. You're going to be the reminder for your brother of what he has forgotten. You're going to show him the way just as you have been shown the way. Huh? And however this happens specifically is really not of any concern. Your awakening will not look like my awakening, right? They will look different. That really doesn't matter. The form doesn't matter. The content is the same. Beautiful. Beautiful. Such is salvation's call and nothing more. It asks that you accept the truth and let it go before you, lighting up the path of ransom from illusion. It is not a ransom with a price. There is no cost but only gain. Love it, right? You be that light of the world, right? Because that's your function. You've chosen this. You have agreed to fulfill your function. Huh? Walk safely now yet carefully, because this path is new to you. And you may find that you're tempted still to walk ahead of truth and let illusions be your guide, right? Be careful, right? Listen, right? Step back, let it be shown to you, right? Because you're so accustomed to defining everything in your own old idea of yourself, right? You'll make some mistakes. Don't worry about it, right? You're here to learn. Beautiful. We walk to God, pause and reflect on this. Could any way be holier or more deserving of your effort, of your love, and of your full intent? Right? Beautiful. Your feet are safely set upon the road that leads the world to God. Look not to ways that seem to lead you elsewhere, right? There is only one way. Either you go to God or you go to nowhere, right? Again, there is only God. Once you realize that you cannot be separate from God, right? Because that's the belief of the world. You're separate from God. And that is basically the lesson for today. I walk with God in perfect holiness, right? And it says today's idea but states the simple truth that makes the thought of sin impossible. Sin means separation, right? Sin doesn't mean you're bad, or it means separation, right? It promises that there is no cause for guilt and being causeless does not exist. It follows surely from the basic thought so often mentioned in the text. Ideas leave not their source. If this is true, how can you be separate from God? God is an idea. You are an idea, right? Everything is an idea. You got to get used to everything is an idea, right? God is your source. How can you possibly be separate from source? It's your source, right? I love it because once you recognize that up to now you've always been operating on the principle that you're separate from source, but you're not. You're not separate from source. Then you start to realize, wait a minute, I walk with God in perfect holiness. How could you walk the world alone is separate from your source? Right? Everyone here seems to walk the world alone, right? They're doing whatever they're doing, but they all operate from the belief, but they're alone. They're separate, right? They're this body, right? They're not. You cannot be separate from source, right? And then he says, we're not inconsistent in the thoughts that we present in our curriculum. Truth must be true throughout, if it be true. It cannot contradict itself, nor be in parts uncertain and in others sure. You cannot walk the world apart from God because you could not be without Him. He is what your life is. Where you are, He is. There is one life, that life you share with Him. Nothing can be apart from Him and live. The thought system that A Course in Miracles is trying to teach you is an entirely consistent thought system. There are no contradictions, right? And if there appear to be contradictions, it's only because you think they are, but they're not, right? There are no contradictions in A Course in Miracles. It's a consistent thought system. But it's also a thought system that is in every aspect the opposite of the thinking of the world, which is also a consistent thought system. But they don't meet, right? Beautiful. He says, what lives is holy as himself, because what shares his life is part of holiness, and could no more be sinful than the sun could choose to be of ice, the sea elect to be apart from water, right? So he says there is a light in you which cannot die. The light came with you from your native home, right? You carry this light in you. And no matter how dim it is, right, it's still there. And you can ignite that in yourself. Whose presence is so holy that the world is sanctified because of you. All things that live bring gifts to you, and offer them in gratitude and gladness at your feet. The scent of flowers is their gift to you. The waves bow down before you, and the trees extend their arms to shield you from the heat, and lay their leaves before you on the ground, that you may walk in softness, while the wind sings to a whisper around your holy head. Now, this sounds very poetic, and you think he's talking in superlatives here. It sounds good, but it can't possibly be true. It's true. This is how it truly is. And again, this might not be your experience. And if it's not, don't worry about it, because it will be. It will be that your holiness is so far beyond your imagination, right? That when you experience it, you have no words. You have no words to describe it, because truly it is what governs everything. Beautiful. The light in you is what the universe belongs to hold. All living things are still before you, for they recognize who walks with you. The light you carry is their own. That's it. And thus they see in you their holiness, saluting you as Savior and as God. Beautiful, right? This is the way salvation works. As you step back, the light in you steps forward and encompasses the world. You step back from your old idea. You step back from the idea that you're separate from God, that you know anything, right? And as you step back, truth steps forward. It has no choice, because you're the one that's holding it back. Beautiful. In lightness and in laughter is sin gone, is separation gone, right? The idea of separation. Because its quaint absurdity is seen. It is a foolish thought, a silly dream, not frightening, ridiculous perhaps, but who would waste an instant in approach to God himself for such a senseless whim? Yet you have wasted many, many years on just this foolish thought. The past is gone with all its fantasies. They keep you bound no longer, right? Nothing is binding you, right? The prison door is open. You just thought it was closed. You were binding yourself. Nothing was holding you back. The approach to God is near. And in the little interval of doubt, right? Your transition, the borderland, the little interval of doubt that you still have, that still remains, you may perhaps lose sight of your companion and mistake him for the senseless ancient dream that is now past. However, your companion is as holy as you are, right? Who walks with me, right? This question should be asked 1,000 times a day. Who walks with you? If you but knew who walks with you, you couldn't possibly have any concerns or fears or doubts, right? You'd be certain of your purpose and of your goal. This is the mind training of A Course in Miracles. Finding your only problem will be doubt, will be fear, right? And as you undergo your awakening, you'll learn to trust that particular process or the correction or the presence that with you more and more. And your certainty and your reliance, right, on it will grow, right? But really all of this is your doubt disappearing, right? Is your fear vanishing. That's the process of awakening that many of you now are undergoing in this world. Wherever and whenever you are, as you're undergoing this, as you are emerging from your tomb, right, in your new Christhood, right, that is your experience, right? And you become the example, the reminder, the memory for your brother who is also, right, ready to wake up, right? And you be that alternative for him. You be that alternative for him. He's forgotten, right? Just as you a moment ago had forgotten. But you're his reminder. That's your function. That's how this works. It doesn't work any other way. Huh? Great lesson. Read it today if you have a moment. The number is lesson 156. I walk with God in perfect holiness. If you have a moment today, sit down with it, read it, and let that be really personal, because it is really personal. This is your mind talking to you from out of time, to you who still think you live in time. I love you. Have a great, great day today, and I'll see you out there.